Welcome students. In previous class we have seen about what do you mean by impulse, what do you mean by momentum and the relation between impulse and momentum. Also we have solved some examples based on impulse momentum principle. Now let us carry forward our discussion to another topic in this chapter, that is known as an impact. Now what do you mean by this word impact? Impact is the collision between two bodies which continues for a short interval of time, during which both the bodies exert a large amount of force on each other. So let us say there is a body A and there is a body B, and let us say they collide with each other for some time interval t. Now, when these bodies collides with each other, they exert a large amount of force on each other for this particular time period t. And this type of collision of bodies is known as the impact. Let us move forward with what are the different types of impact. The first type of impact is the direct impact. Now, if you observe in the figure, there is a body A, let us say of mass m1, and there is a body B of mass m2. These both bodies are moving with velocity Va and Vb respectively towards each other. Now if you observe the direction of velocities of Va and Vb, both velocities of A and B are along the line of impact. If you see, the line of impact is already marked and the velocity are along the line of impact. So now I can say that if the velocities of the colliding bodies are along the line of impact, then that type of impact will be known as direct impact. Let us see the second type of impact. The second type of impact is nothing but the oblique impact. So again, from the figure you can see that there is a body A of mass m1 and body B of mass m2, and they are colliding with each other for, let us say, some time period t. Now just observe figures 1 and 2. In figure 1, the velocities of both these particles A and B were along the line of impact. Hence we told that this type of impact is known as direct impact. But here, if you observe again, the velocity of particle A, that is Va, is along this direction. If I extend this, it will be going towards this direction. Similarly, the velocity of particle B is along this direction, and the line of impact is exactly horizontal. So here the direction of both the velocities are not in the line of impact, hence it will be known as oblique impact. So to summarize, what I can say, if the velocities of the bodies colliding are along the line of impact, then it will be known as direct impact, and if the velocities of the colliding bodies are not along the line of impact, then it will be known as oblique impact. Now let us see the third one. The third type of impact is the central impact. Now what is the difference between direct impact, oblique impact and central impact? Let us see from the figure given. Again, here there are two bodies, let us say of mass m1 and mass m2, and let it be A and B. Now if you see in this figure, there is something marked as G1 and G2. This G1 and G2 are nothing but the mass centers of the body, or we can say a point where the mass is supposed to be concentrated. Now if these two bodies collide and these mass centers of the bodies are along the line of impact or are on the line of impact, then this type of impact will be known as central impact. So now again I will summarize the entire types of impact. So the first one we saw was the direct impact, in which we said that if velocities are along the line of impact, then it will be known as direct impact. Second type of impact we saw is oblique impact, wherein we said that if the velocities of the colliding bodies are not along line of impact, then it will be known as oblique impact. And the third type of impact will be central impact, wherein the mass centers, there is mass centers will be on line of impact. Okay, so after understanding this, let us proceed further to see what do you mean by the word restitution. Let me first read the statement and then I will explain this. So, in a collision between two bodies, the bodies get deformed due to the force acting on the body. But due to elastic properties of the body, it tries to regain its original shape and size. This process of regaining original shape and size is termed as restitution. Now let me explain this. Let us say there is a body 1 and there is a body 2. And let us say they are moving towards each other, and at some time they will collide with each other. Now, because these two bodies are exerting a large amount of force on each other, this body will exert force on this body and this body will exert force on this body for that time period. Now, because they are exerting the force, there will be some deformation. There will be, let us say, some deformation on the bodies, both the bodies. Now, this deformation is not permanent in nature. It depends on the type of body which collides. Now, let us say this is the elastic bodies, and because of the elastic properties, what it will try to do, it will try to regain its original shape and size. So let us say it again comes to its original shape and size. So this process of regaining the original shape and size after impact is known as the restitution. So hope you have understood this. Again, I will repeat it in simple terms. It's just a process of regaining original shape and size. In simple terms, you can just say the process of regaining original shape and size is called as restitution. Now let us proceed further in this. The next term which we want to say is the term coefficient of restitution, and is denoted by a letter small e. Now what is coefficient of restitution? So it is the ratio of, coefficient of restitution is a ratio of velocity of separation of two bodies to the velocities of approach of two bodies. So what is coefficient of restitution? Coefficient of restitution is ratio of velocity of separation. What do you mean by velocity of separation? Velocity of separation means velocities after impact to the velocities of approach. Velocities of approach means the velocities of the particles before they are impact. So I can write like this: coefficient of restitution is velocity of separation divided by velocity of approach. This can also be written as, this velocity of separation can also be written as velocity after impact, and velocity of approach can be written as velocities before impact. And this coefficient of restitution, as it is coefficient, we know that coefficient of friction also lies between 0 and 1. On the similar lines, the coefficient of restitution also lies between 0 and 1. The mathematical formula for coefficient of restitution is given by E is equal to VB minus VA. So you can see here velocities of separation, or we can say velocities after impact. So it will be V. So it is VB minus VA, and velocities of approach. Approach means initial velocity, hence it is here UA minus UB. So this is the formula for coefficient of restitution in terms of velocities. Now let us proceed further to what are the different types of restitution. So the first type is perfectly elastic body. In previous discussion we have seen that there are two bodies, and when they collide with each other, there is some deformation in the bodies, and they try to regain its original shape and size. So when after deformation when after deformation these two bodies regain its original shape and size completely, then this will be termed as perfectly elastic body with a coefficient of restitution E is equal to 1. In this case, we can say that momentum is conserved, that is initial momentum will be equal to final momentum, and we can also say that there is no loss of kinetic energy. Now let us go forward to the second type of restitution, that is perfectly plastic body. Again, let us consider there are two particles and they are moving towards each other and they collide. When they collide, there will be some deformation in the bodies. Now, these particles are now not able to regain its original shape and size. That means it has gone into plastic deformation. That means the permanent deformation. So what happens here? These two bodies get stuck with each other, and move together as the same particle or one single particle. So this type of impact wherein the bodies cannot regain the original shape and size and move together as a single unit, that type of bodies are known as perfectly plastic bodies, where the coefficient of restitution is given as E is equal to 0. The other things will be momentum is conserved, that means initial momentum will be equal to final momentum, but there will be change in kinetic energy. And third thing which we have already seen is bodies will move together as one single unit. Okay, now let us consider the third type, that is neither perfectly elastic nor perfectly plastic, wherein the coefficient of restitution will lie between 0 and 1. So again we will consider, let us say there are two bodies moving towards each other and have an impact, and because of this impact there will be some deformation in the bodies. Now let us say they are trying to regain its original shape and size and they are able to recover only some part. They were deformed more, but they were able to recover some part of the deformation. Hence this type of impact wherein the bodies recover some part of the deformation are known as neither perfectly elastic nor perfectly plastic bodies, where coefficient of restitution lies between 0 and 1. So the other things in this type will be again same, momentum is conserved, that is initial momentum will be equal to final momentum, and the second thing is there is the change in kinetic energy. So just to summarize, perfectly plastic bodies has coefficient of restitution E is equal to 1, wherein they completely regain the original shape and size. Second part is perfectly plastic bodies where E is equal to 0, wherein the both colliding particles does not regain their original shape and size. And the third type is neither perfectly elastic nor perfectly plastic, wherein E is between 0 and 1, wherein the particle try to regain original shape and size but cannot fully regain original shape and size. Okay. So this is called as neither perfectly elastic nor perfectly plastic bodies. So hope you have understood the concepts of impact, types of impact, restitution, coefficient of restitution, and the types of restitution. So in the next class we will start the problems based on this particular concepts. Thank you.